A Ukrainian drone identifies a lone Russian soldier wandering in one of the most dangerous sectors of the front, in close proximity to Ukrainian defense positions. The soldier remains unaware of the drone trailing his movement. While one drone tracks the soldier, another moves in for the attack. Finally noticing the drone approaching him, the soldier begins to fire his weapon repeatedly at it. The strike comes from a second drone that he never sees. A foreign national soldier who has joined the Russian forces is identified while moving along the front. He is one of many new recruits brought to the lines, often with little to no formal training. The soldier believes he is hidden, but a drone is already dispatched for the strike. While squatting in the middle of a field, he suddenly confronts the drone and begins to fire his weapon. However, the effort fails to stop the assault. A Ukrainian drone conducts reconnaissance in an open field. Before long, a Russian soldier is detected by the drone. Moving through the trees, the soldier spots the aircraft. As he attempts to flee, he trips and falls to the ground, leaving him with no chance to escape. Searching for targets in the forested areas that Russian soldiers now prefer for concealment, a drone identifies a Russian soldier. He attempts to use a tree as a natural shield. As the drone approaches him, it is seen that the soldier has no weapon. He tries to stop the drone with a tree branch in his hand. This attack takes place in the Pokrovsk direction. A drone, patrolling a road frequently used by Russian forces, searches the area for any Russian soldiers. A few hundred meters ahead, a Russian soldier is spotted. The soldier immediately begins to run. However, the surrounding terrain is so open that there is nowhere for him to hide. As the drone closes in rapidly, the soldier is left with no chance of escape. This situation illustrates how soldiers on the front remain completely vulnerable against drones. A rapidly moving Russian military vehicle becomes the target of a drone. The soldiers attempting to jump from the moving vehicle are too late to escape. The following operation takes place in the Donetsk region. A Ukrainian reconnaissance drone detects a Russian soldier emerging from a shelter. The soldier is unaware that he is being watched. It is observed that the backpack he carries is quite heavy. Due to the snowy terrain, he moves very slowly. While the reconnaissance drone tracks the soldier second by second, FPV units have already dispatched a drone. As the drone approaches the target, the reconnaissance drone maintains its tracking. The soldier notices the reconnaissance drone following him and attempts to hide. He tries to change direction at the last moment, but the response comes too late. Under close aerial pressure, the attempt to flee fails before any real distance can be gained. In the same area, another soldier is detected a few minutes later. He attempts to hide by running into a wooded area. Despite all his efforts to escape, the attempt proves futile. A drone is dispatched toward the soldier, whose hiding place is identified. As the ruins are searched, the soldier jumps through a window and immediately begins to flee in a different direction. Throughout the pursuit, the soldier operates under the assumption that only one drone is present. However, the other drone constantly tracks his position, while the first drone continually searches for a suitable position to strike. No matter where he runs, he constantly sees a drone in front of him. Although he tries to find a safe location, he fails to find any cover. Despite the Russian soldier's persistent efforts to change his location, he cannot succeed in evading the drone. A soldier is detected hiding among the bushes, believing he is concealed by remaining motionless. Even as the drone approaches within a few meters, he does not move. Yet another Russian soldier chooses to remain motionless as the drone approaches. Whether this is a taught tactic, a result of sheer panic, or perhaps blind optimism remains unclear. From above, it appears as though he is relying on the idea that absolute stillness might confuse modern sensors. However, the drone is not deceived and maintains its track. This time, a Russian soldier confronted by a drone is seen throwing an unidentified object toward it as he lacks a firearm. Despite this desperate attempt, the effort is not sufficient. The following operation targets Russian soldiers moving either alone or in small groups of 2. To avoid sustaining heavy casualties as a larger unit, the soldiers maneuver in pairs, yet they are identified by FPV units nonetheless. The objective for these soldiers is to advance toward and seize Ukrainian positions. However, the primary obstacle in their path remains the persistent presence of a drone. Many of these Russian soldiers lack a clear objective. Most are identified wandering aimlessly across the front without any apparent purpose. Their camouflage appears worn and degraded, and in many cases, they carry no firearms. When confronted by an FPV drone, a soldier is left with no choice but to run or attempt to find cover. This operation takes place in a snow-covered position. Multiple Ukrainian drones conduct numerous strikes to force the Russian soldiers in the area to retreat. As FPV drones pursue the soldiers, the men constantly attempt to flee. Some believe they can hide by remaining motionless, but none of these efforts are sufficient. Second by second, FPV drones track the soldiers. With trees being their only means of defense, the soldiers remain completely vulnerable in the area. It is also observed that they lack appropriate weaponry. Had they carried weapons such as shotguns instead of automatic rifles, they might have a chance to defend themselves. The Russian T-72 tank is identified by FPV units while advancing toward Ukrainian positions and is immediately halted. The initial strike is directed at the tank's tracks, rendering it immobile. Following this, FPV units continue to dispatch drones. With the impact of the third drone, the tank is completely neutralized. This situation proves that tanks fail to maintain superiority against drones on the front. A Russian soldier is identified advancing toward the front in an all-terrain vehicle. Caught in a state of panic and unsure of his next move, the soldier attempts to return fire with his weapon, but fails to find sufficient time. A large-scale operation is conducted against logistical routes. Specifically, in the Donetsk and Pokrovsk regions, the supply routes utilized by Russian forces are entirely under the control of Ukrainian FPV drones. Drones carry out continuous operations against vehicles along these routes, targeting numerous military assets. As multiple vehicles are destroyed, Russian logistical supply lines face significant disruption. At this stage, it is not only vehicle losses. The soldiers operating them also become primary targets. Russian soldiers, observed using light all-terrain vehicles, abandon their transport and flee helplessly in the face of drone pressure. Ukrainian drones continue to target Russian military equipment. Numerous vehicles and devices placed in abandoned areas and used for military communication are neutralized. The primary objective of this operation is to leave Russian soldiers on the front without communication. The success of drones against small targets is also observed. The current operation targets vehicles hidden by Russian soldiers in various locations along the front. Numerous sites used as garages are identified, and all vehicles used, or potentially used, by the soldiers are targeted. Through this operation, Ukrainian drones aim to slow the mobility of Russian forces on the front. Primarily utilizing older UAZ-type vehicles, the soldiers resort to using any available transport found in the area, as they fail to find sufficient armored vehicles. Hidden Russian shelters are identified by Ukrainian reconnaissance drones. FPV units immediately move against these military bunkers. Executing highly precise maneuvers, the drones enter the shelter openings and create a devastating impact. Numerous similar locations are being detected throughout the area. Soldiers increasingly prefer these types of sites. Particularly in the biting winter cold, Russian forces relocate to these fortified positions, as they can no longer remain in exposed trenches. However, these efforts still prove insufficient to avoid detection by a drone. Despite the overhead pressure, some Russian soldiers attempt to reinforce the damaged entrances with debris, but the activity only confirms their presence to the reconnaissance units. Once a target is prioritized, an FPV drone descends with controlled speed, navigating through the narrow openings of the dugouts. The resulting strikes disrupt the temporary shelter, forcing the occupants back into the exposed, freezing environment. This operation highlights how even fortified winter positions fail to provide safety once a drone establishes continuous aerial observation over the sector. A Ukrainian FPV drone is on an operation in the Donetsk region. Its target is a Russian FPV drone. A long chase unfolds as two drone operators attempt to take each other down in the air. With precise maneuvers, the Ukrainian FPV drone constantly searches for an optimal position. Finally, finding a suitable angle, the drone strikes and brings down the Russian FPV drone. Ukrainian drones identify numerous military vehicles across the front. Although many vehicles appear abandoned, they remain operational. These are assets utilized for supply missions. The following situation unfolds in the open fields near Pokrovsk. For every identified target, an FPV unit is dispatched. The vehicles remain completely defenseless. Most carry fuel and ammunition. Once targeted by the FPV units, the vehicles burn, along with the logistical supplies they carry. Any personnel attempting to salvage the cargo are forced to retreat as the area becomes a high-risk zone under continuous aerial observation. This systematic destruction ensures that Russian frontline units remain depleted of essential resources, effectively paralyzing their movement in the Pokrovsk sector.